I believe we are going to begin our workshop now, everyone. And so, for those of you in chat, I will be calling on you to make some rolls so that we can build this area together. When considering where you want an adventure to take place, one method I present is a worksheet that you see in front of you here, where I made some lines in the sand. I said, you know what? When I build, these are things that I look for. You can have less or more of one thing or another, or approach it in a different order. Yep, Hark, we're going to roll the dice. And hey, Hark, welcome. Good to see you here. Ma'am, I need this camera, please. Thank you. Yeah, you're wonderful. Look at that. She was trying to adjust it for you all. There we go. I just put it back to where it needed to be, ma'am. She's off to this. She's snuffing at it. I have a third camera. My computer can't handle it though. Otherwise, I'd have something almost like a cat cam. My hand has to go there for the mouse. So I'm going to touch your tail. There we go. That's a very subtle way to get her to move. All right. Nothing important. Just, you know, a cat being a cat. Yeah, and yeah, and we could make several taverns or the like. When we make our one, it's simply a placeholder that whether it's the ritziest of the Ritz or wherever it falls, that's the one that is going to be perhaps more central to whatever it is that we're trying to pass along to our players. When generating an area, there's a couple prompts that we can take. And even before we roll any die, and I'll show you, you see here that this process, while it certainly has the majority of it contained in the Dungeon Master's Guide, it begins in the player's handbook. And the reason for that is between the Ranger and the Druid, there are 8 different biomes where each of these classes has particular mechanics. So, therefore, if we have our maps or if we have our maps consider any of the 8 biomes, then these adventurers could take place, or the adventures could take place there, and our adventurers would be able to use some, if not all, of their abilities. Or, you know, it's not that a mountain druid can't live off of the mountain. They certainly can. They can go to the desert. They just learned on the mountain. Though at least we know that there's a mountain and what it does, who lives there, etc., before they go and set out elsewhere. And for our terrain types, I like choosing 2. So it's not just plains or grassland. It's not just forest. There's still something else that's a major feature. For us to consider, whatever we end up with. Ooh, pardon me. Let's take a quick look at our 4 characters. We have a sea elf. Now, sea elves can live out of water in a more permanent basis than the race that Cybernetic Lithid was talking about. So we know somewhere out there is a body of water that has a family or like a colony of sea elves that live in it. Though we don't know much about where he is currently. We do know that whether it's on the area we're going to be creating or somewhere else that he moved here to, that there's a large body of water, and inside is a society of sea elves that have some kind of like a fighting arena or you know, like a biological accelerator for nature versus nurture, or if not that, then I'm sorry, you know, just like survival of the fittest, where they have sea elves that are that will fight each other. And part of the consideration was, well, what if these sea elves that we've created actually lay eggs? Not unlike a shark or a skate, and they have like the Little Mermaid purse egg sacs, and they lay several of them. So, and so elves, maybe these sea elves have several kids, and not all of them have inherited, you know, the strongest traits. And if you're living in the cruel sea where, you know, a shark will eat you for lunch and it's nothing personal, it'll just do it. Or if you can't swim against the current, it'll dash you against razor sharp coral. Or if you can't withstand the sting of a jellyfish, then you're going to get paralyzed and bad things will happen. So somewhere we know there's going to be a major body of water. From our Archfey Warlock, there is going to be a city of some kind. She's an investigator. She's been hired to look into arcane mysteries. So we're talking X-Files or Dresden Files stuff. She's a Duragar, and so there is some kind of like an underground, if it's not a part that we roll, she also came from an area that was a part of the Underdark or an equivalent in whatever you want it to be in your world. O'Sheep says, sharks don't lay eggs. They enter the void in the middle of the ocean and come back in 50 forms. Oh my. I didn't know that about sharks. Yo, patrol in 15 minutes, so you'll be away. But feel free to ask. Oh, because you're talking to Defiant. Yeah, Defiant, if you need me to stop and explain something, please ask in chat. Sharks love scritches. The more you know, and do. So we have an element of an underground area, an Underdark style, and a large urban area, so much that they can afford to have gritty noir detectives. Our third character we generated is also an Archfey Warlock. And we have a Githyanki. Now, you know, our lore is whatever. Maybe the Gith are actually, you know, the equivalent of humans. They're everywhere. Maybe he is an extraplanar traveler that came by for whatever reason. And here is an anthropologist. So he studies. It's his job to study other people and cultures. And in particular, he was adopted for a while by Aarakocra. All right, so we know that Aarakocra exists somewhere. If not here, then in a neighboring city-state or on a different continent. But Aarakocra are perhaps something to take into consideration as well. And what else did we learn? Let's see. Common people crave strong leadership. My mentor gave me a journal filled with lore. Oh, and I've picked up some unpleasant habits from the goblins. Somewhere out there are goblins. And I would say that this would be another point for having a big city. Such as we have someone who's here to visit and observe, or who has come back from the wilds, might have a place here or a university or something, and is sharing what he has learned with the learned who are here. Where'd you get a sparkle on you? Anyway. Boy, where you find one sparkle, you find them. I got to put some of the, I guess there's some sparkle medicine on the back of her neck. All right. And our last character here is a College of Glamour bard who is an acolyte in some kind of a trickster deity's faith. And again, this is pointing to a big society such that they have a pantheon, or, you know, she was raised in an environment that allowed her to study religion and to go out and try and convert people to it. She might have come from a small bugbear village out in the woods, but this diva is here and is going to do everything she can in order to convince you that she and her faith is absolutely the way forward. Yeah, those darn kids and their pesky dog. It's been at least 5 seconds since she showed up. She knew we were missing her. Ah, Agolias Fortuna, welcome back. Welcome, welcome. These are some of our prompts. And now with that in mind, let's begin the setting creation process to where we can link where we're at in some way. Because either these characters are from here, or there's something here for them such that they ended up here after, well, whatever life they left behind. Well, Agolias, I'll tell you what, you start our workshop off by rolling a D8 in chat, exclamation point 1D8. And this is going to give us first of our 2 biomes to consider for where this settlement, where this city is located. Oh, you need the 1 in there. Exclamation point 1D8. Stops on a 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Mountain. This could be a singular mountain. This could be a volcano. This could be a very hilly area. But our general idea is that this is an area that has a mountain or is mountainous in some way. And Hark, will you roll another D8 to find out what our second biome for this process is going to be? Stops on a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. A forest and a mountain. All right. We now have a base to build from. We have our foundation. And the things that come afterwards, we're going to tie back, not just to our characters, but we're going to consider, well, what kind of mountain or mountainous area? What about a forest? Forest could be bamboo, could be cacti, could be a petrified forest, if everything here is very mountainous. Anyway, now let's get to the form of government that is going to be ruling over this area. And so on a percentile roll, Cybernetic Alithid, will you give me a percentile roll? That could be the case, Bro Player. Stops on a 54. This place is a megocracy. The governing body is composed of spellcasters who rule directly as oligarchs or feudal lords, or participate in a democracy or bureaucracy. Examples include the Red Wizards of Thay in the Forgotten Realms campaign setting, and the Sorcerer Kings of Athos in the Dark Sun campaign setting. Magical feudalism. Yeah, so only people who own land, the only people who can own land are maybe our magic users. Or, you know, it's sort of how we had it in our history, where only as men were the only ones to vote because men were the only ones that were allowed to own land. And the reason why people, that we had that as a qualifier was if you own land, you should be empowered to make decisions about that land and not the people who don't own land. Because then what if they all rose up and said, well, we don't have land, we're gonna vote to take yours. Now, of course, that has changed over time with property ownership and laws and in our Constitution and such as it's been developed. And not just in our culture or country, but in others. But in this case, there's something about magic users. Druids, and you know what? Druids actually, Druids came up very heavily with our Bugbear Diva character. And so that could be a case where the Megocracy is really a Druid circle or something along those lines. It gives reasons for our warlocks to be warlocks. Yeah, you know what, Cybernetic? That's true. The Magocracy could actually be Archfey. The one who rules as a magical monarch could end up being the patron. And so for those who swear loyalty to the patron, you get certain benefits in this society. And that's an excellent way to bind people to you in order to, to control them for defense, for expansion, all kinds of things. A druid cult, exactly, bro player. Merchants and businessmen selling their souls for the ability to purchase land. Oh, yeah, and you know what? That's even, that would make for a very interesting, Hold on to that idea for a second, Cybernetic Elithid. That could lead to something very interesting. All right, now this is a line in the sand that I draw. I like at least 3 notable things to describe it in an area. And in the Dungeon Master's Guide, there are some charts that will do just that. There are monuments, and there's also an interesting weird locale. And so the first monument, Mythical Hyena, will you please roll 1d20 in chat? Well, Mythical, if you can, and you can afford it, and I've earned it, I would very much appreciate it. It's exclamation point 1d20. Stops on a 2. A plundered burial mound or pyramid? Did that just happen recently? Is this actually society built on an ancient site of some kind? Funny Man, will you also roll 1d20 in chat? Exclamation point 1d20. Maybe. Someone plundered the loot. Yes, and where's Mr. Plunder Loot when we need him? He's playing D&D time. An upside down pyramid maze inside the mountain or under the mountain? Funny Man rolls a 16. A great stone arch. Is this a memorial? Is this is the great stone arch linked somehow to a passage elsewhere? Is this a holy symbol indicating that that this place is under the protection of a particular god or goddess? All right, now we need a weird locale. Bro Applier, will you please roll a d20 in chat? Exclamation point 1d20. That will give us our weird locale that is in the region where this horror story takes place. That, or is this a framing device for an Eye of Sauron laser defense system used to keep out the ruffians? The answer is, that's a definite maybe. Bro Plier rolled us an 18. Oh my goodness. Oh, the mountain is a pyramid? Ooh, talk about creepy. I like it. I like these ideas. All right, number 18 is a forest of petrified or awakened trees. I kind of like that the mountain is so large that it is the pyramid itself. Now, in a horror setting, do our characters know this, or are they going to find out that this whole time the mountain in the middle of town or off to the side or whatever is actually a giant, whatever, a gateway to another world, a necropolis where, you know, a million mummies are getting ready to rise up and flood the streets, something along those lines. It could absolutely be a part of the Fae as well. Entrance to the Feywild used to get where the Empress... Wait, entrance to the Feywild used when the Empress came to the material plane millennia ago. Mountain of Pyramidians. Yeah, hey, bro, Plier. So that was really auspicious. A forested mountain of petrified trees. So it sounds like we're sticking with the petrified. That's fine. So we'll do that. A forest of petrified trees. Or have they been awakened the whole time? Ah! All right, so something we can do now. What? Who lives here? You know, if we're talking that there's going to be a big city located here, who lives here primarily? Well, we have these 4 characters, and really, well, maybe at least half of them here are Old Fisher is a sea elf. And he's probably not from around these here parts, which is why he adopted a secret identity. We also have our Gith Yankee, who is an anthropologist and probably is visiting from outside somewhere else as well. So that brings us to our Duragar. And of course, if we have a mountain, we might have an underneath section of mountain. We also have a bugbear. Bugbears live in forests. However, if she was put out, then perhaps bugbears are not a notable percentage of the population of this city. And so what we can do is ground our setting with at least one of our characters, and we can say that there are Duragar that live here. Normally, we would randomly roll it. However, because we're playing with all 36 races or thereabouts, that could end up being super disparate. And horror is best when it's kept close to home. And so, as for our investigator here, why don't we make the Duragar one of the races? Now, whether it's the dominant or the minority, why don't we go Black Wolf? Will you roll a D12, and odds, it's dominant, evens, it's a minority race. Evens. So the Duragar are a minority race. This could also be our Innsmouth. Yeah, that's true, Cybernetic. We were making parallels to Call of Cthulhu. Yeah, and theoretically, all of them could be nomadic. You're absolutely correct. I would like to ground at least one character, though. around which the others can you know, kind of coalesce. The Gith is looking for a mummified mind flayer. Ooh. What, so it could punch it into dust and feel good about itself? Now for the dominant race. For the dominant race, why don't we go back and we will open up. Here we go. We'll open up our... Stop it. Oh, yeah, she's licking her shoulder like I've been doing that the whole time. I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry if I scared anyone out there. Or if any of you had pets and I suddenly went... Oh, jeez. I got you, oh, sheeps. Oh, sheeps. Whatever you're doing, stop it then. Oh, sheeps, will you roll a d6? Yeah, Agolias, she's off to the side getting into trouble. Stops on a 2, so we're going to have races 7 through 12. And in fact, Agolias, would you do me the pleasure of rolling a d6 in chat? Exclamation point 1d6, please. Stops on a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh. All right, so this is actually a D&D time race. The Florins. This is a homebrew race that Pete and Jeremy made for D&D time. And, well, we're talking about, you know, trees and mountains. We have mountain people. We certainly have tree people, especially with the lumberling. You know, so talk about either petrified ones. That could be a graveyard. Petrified lumberlings could end up just, they're their own tombstones. Wow, this is really creepy how this has turned out. So the dominant race are Florins. It writes, look, everyone, I know it seems campy, or you're like, yeah, whatever. I mean, you just say that anytime. How many times has this happened where the story writes itself, despite pure random number generation? Iwi. Oh, whoa, ooh, it's Iwi. Awakened petrified trees are undead. Yeah, exactly. Now, it's time to determine the race relations between the Florins and the Duragar. And so, to do that, dun, 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 we're going to go back to the Dungeon Master's Guide. And, Raz, will you please roll a d20 in chat to determine how our Florins and Duragar get along? The fact also that we have an Archfey Magocracy is just... This is eerily perfect. Stops on a 2. Alright, so they do live in harmony. Now, broadly, we could probably say that these are dwarves if we're saying that Florins are here. Unless we, like, specifically gave a particular type of Florin. But for sure, we know we have a Duragar dwarf. But I don't know. I'm happy sticking with that. So they live in harmony. It's like My Little Pony. There you go. Friendship is tragic in this case, though, Bro-Plier. Bro-Plier, will you please roll a d20? Let's find out the ruler's status in this Magocracy. $11. Ruled or controlled by a powerful monster? Of course it is. Because that's exactly what you all just talked about prior in chat before rolling it. This is creepy, everyone. Jeez, talk about a Halloween episode. Oh, I held that in. So, an Archfey obviously is ruling this place. It's just like what you want. Oh, thank you, sheeps. An Archfey, there we go, an Archfey Empress. Funny, man. Y'all wanted it hard enough. You are causing reality to bend to your desire here on this channel. Now, what is a notable trait about this society or this area? Hark, will you roll a d20, please? $18. There is a notable library or academy. Notable library or academy. Perhaps an academy where our investigator's mentor had a journal filled with lore and wisdom? Losing it would devastate her. Some kind of mage? Yeah. Now, this place is known for its something. Oh, Sheeps, will you roll a d20 and let us know what this place is known for? Stops on a 17. This place is known for political intrigue. So the common folk, the mundane, probably live in absolute harmony, and the magocracy scheme and cast and they scheme, they cast against each other because, you know, they have the people who can't cast are supporting them in some sort of numbers game or something. And so it's good. I mean, pardon the reference here, but oh, sheep, like, you want the sheep to be placated. You don't want them to know what's going on behind the scenes, because you need them for their wool, you need them for their meat, you need them for their labor, you need them just for emotional comfort because they're fun to pet. And so the vast majority of the people who live here might end up just, they get along, but they don't understand that the oligarchy, or like a feudal oligarchy of mages, are engaged in political intrigue of some kind. Especially if we have, especially if they get along and you have an archfey as the ruler. The archfey, his, her, itself, would cause intrigue if only for the entertainment, because it's something to do. You know what? I'm gonna try and topple myself this century. Yeah, that's a good century goal. I'm gonna try and topple myself this century, and let's see how that works out. And then suddenly the wheels go in motion, so that the archfey tries to get itself, banished or excluded, because it's fun. It's something that makes it not bored. Oh, well, hey, welcome back, funny man. Wolfblade, welcome. The plants have to be vegan. It makes them cannibalistic. All right, now, there is a calamity going on right now. So while people know that political intrigue is practiced like a hobby, because this is an area that is under the sway of an archfey, there is something going on here that is external to the internal struggles and strife. And Wolfblade, would you please roll a d20 to let us know what is happening? Cybernetic Lithid is in before a 14 or 15. Well, we didn't get that. We ended up getting a 6. A plague or a famine is sparking riots. Actually, let's just go odds or evens. Is it a plague or is it a famine? Mythical Hyena, will you please roll a D4? 1 or 2, it's a plague. 3 or 4, it's a famine. Exclamation point 1 D4. You got it, Broplier. It could be something like that, exactly. Stops on a 2. We have a plague. A plague is sparking riots. What kind of a plague is befalling our fair city-state? A petrification plague? Maybe it is only affecting the Florins because the Florins are the dominant race. Now, here's something else that's interesting as well. If it's not, whether or not it's causing petrification, Duragar and Florins are races that have intrinsic magic. So, in this case, if we have a magocracy, it would be more or less like not what common magic you have, but what other magic you do. What if it's something like the Spell Plague that occurred in 4th edition in Forgotten Realms? Or what if it's something that, yeah, it could turn you into stone. Or it's something that might strip you of your magic. That would certainly be a plague as well. And that would be a calamity because the entire society is built on the basis of it being a magocracy. Oh yeah, is the plague the BBEG? Sometimes you do not need a big, you don't need a Strahd. You don't need a red dragon. You don't need anything that you can encounter in exclamation point random epic. It could just be a concept. It could be the thing that's killing everyone is this plague. People are turning to stone. And maybe it started with the Florins, and that sparked some contention. Maybe because the Duragars, the minority race, aren't affected, maybe they're the ones. Because the Duragar are the ones who dig into the mountain. They're the ones who are the dwarves. They're the stony boys. Why isn't it affecting them? And that could cause a problem. But then, what if some of the Duragar start showing up petrified? And if you're running a horror campaign, something I suggest you do not do is give the final boss, whatever you want that to be, some kind of a semblance of hit points. Or in other words, to not make it a known quantity. Once you understand something, you have less of a fear of it. Now, I mean, you might be afraid of sharks, and you can completely understand. You might completely understand how sharks work, and you can still be afraid of them. But it's still a kind of a rationalized fear because of that. Instead of just a blind fear or something that we're tapping into this guttural, instinctive fear. And something like a disease or a mutation, something that changes you. We're talking body horror. We're dealing with packed entities. We could have, this could very much be something that is like an Eldritch horror. The Florins may begin to blame the Duragar having their connection with the stone. The plague started when a tomb robber brought something from the pyramid into the village. Something simple, right? How many of you have heard the curse that if you take even a grain of black sand from the beaches of Hawaii, you will be cursed by Kilauea? because it's sacred sand. We have a plundered burial mound or pyramid. We love the fact that the mountain actually is the pyramid. What is causing the plague is someone did an oopsie. Someone made a boo-boo. And now all of society is paying for the mistake, and it's up to the investigator, the anthropologist, the person, this person of faith. You're supposed to go and fix this. You're supposed to cure diseases. Why doesn't your cure disease spell work? Because it's not that kind of a disease. It's not actually a disease. It's a curse. But it's a disease. And of course, you have the old man with a secret identity who just may know what to do because he's been around. Because he is a death cleric. And now we put trickster cleric over here. Because it kind of worked for, it was an explanation for the kind of background she'd have to go into be, hey, join us. We're a glamour bard. I am the diva. I am the one who does this. If we wanted to bring that in even tighter, we can say that either he moved from his, because when we were explaining it, the Sea Elves would have a death god or goddess because it is a very survival of the fittest. Like, death is a part of life every day there. He could have moved here because there's also a significant death-based religion. I mean, we're talking, if we're talking pyramids, think, Egyptians had all kinds of lore and gods, plural, around death and dying in the afterlife. What if she, being a level 20 College of Glamour bard as a mascot for a faith? This is Captain America needs to go on a publicity tour, right? You can declare someone as Captain America, but then the Captain America's got to step up and actually be Captain America. And this could very easily also be a trickster. It could be duplicitous. Or we could link this back so that this whole society actually does have a death-themed religion. And not only is the mountain the pyramid, like we're talking a mountain is also a giant place where everyone is entombed and buried. And there could be 1 million people living in this city, and there's still, there's enough free space to bury 10 million people in stone-carved sarcophagi. Such is the girth of the mountain. Well, yeah, in Iceland, but culturally it's different. Sacred Mountain Ash. It's perfect party for this. Even this is incredible. Maybe the anthropologist saw something plague-like in the burbs. The goblins helped solve it. Yeah, the Aarakocra. So maybe at the top of the mountain is they don't participate in what happens elsewhere. But at the top of the mountain, there could be a monastery of Aarakocra. If any of you have played through Tomb of Annihilation, you might be familiar with a concept like this. The goblins might even the goblins could even be good guys here, or at least not culturally abrasive. The goblins could be the ones that that live around or under or on the other side of the mountain, and they're a source of labor. You know, they're just a tribe, or it's like another nation that has a very low cost of labor. And so these people end up, you know, bringing goblins in order to do a lot of the labor. Good morning to you, Syart. What if some people think that the curse is a blessing in disguise? A way for eternal life? Agolias, I love it. Yeah, you might even have a cult. We want to talk horror, eldritch horror. We have a cult that has actually, maybe they haven't found a way to master it, but they actually want people to turn to stone so that they do live forever, because stone is eternal. You know, the mountain is eternal. A druid cult. Actually, do druids get? I think druids actually get this spell. Let me check real quick. Ba-ba-da-ba-doo-doo. Dun 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 dun. Dun dun dun. It does not look like they get flesh to stone. Or does that even exist? Hang on, let me check check wizard spells. Wizards have most everything. There we go. Flesh to stone. Surprised, or even then stone to flesh. It might be the same thing. Druid 6th level. Yeah, interesting. Although, ooh, would this be extra meta, I wonder? Do mountain druids get it? Stone shape and stone skin. Wall of stone. Meld into stone. But they do not get flesh to stone. Or stone to flesh. Yep, so I think that, I mean, this is our setting. We could include it. Maybe if only for the cultists. Because, yes, you're absolutely correct, Bro Applier. Everything is set up here so that even in this concept, where we have a sort of a death religion-oriented society, we can have a druid cult operating. West River Rat, welcome. Oh, where was I? My goodness. There we are. All right, so we have our current calamity. So they don't know what's happening. Now we do, and that's the mark of a storyteller that's going to tell a horror story. You need to keep, you know, your ducks in a row up here, and one by one, reveal them over time so that you're providing information, but just not enough at any point in time to give the full picture. That way you can extend the dread and up the tension in your sessions. All right, there's a couple other details then for us to consider. Now there's a town name. You know, I don't have a town name generator for that. That's whatever we want it to end up being. But what we do have, there's a notable religious building in town. Druids could be responsible for petrifying the floor and corpses as the clerics read the rites. How big are the riots? Do bodies fill the streets? Does the rotting stench fill the air? Well, if they're turning to stone, there's probably not a rotting stench. Because the plague from all of our prompts seems to actually be a plague where people are being slowly petrified. Yeah, in a sense, Bubonic. You want to call it Teranabithia? Teranabithia. Am I pronouncing that how you want it pronounced? Teranabithia. Bubonic one, will you please roll a d20 to determine a the religious building in town? Stops on an 11, a temple to a false deity run by charlatan priests. Ooh. So it seems that the main religion has been taken over. Temple to a false, or either that or the cult grew, and now people are like, you have answers. You can return us back from being stone. And the popularity swung. Temple to a false deity. That could be what's happening, Wolfblade. It does fit with the cult scenario, West River Rat. All right. The Rocky Road, Agolias. Well, I'll tell you what, Agolias. Why don't you type exclamation point 2D20 into chat, and you can generate the tavern name. Seven and 11. So the main, like, the place where our adventure, whether it's highfalutin or not, is going to be the Running Goat. The Running Goat. I can imagine that wooden panel is swinging outside. You just have a mountain goat, kind of like bleeding and running around. And Totem Fiend, will you please roll a d20 to find out what kind of a tavern this popular place is for our horror adventures? Stops on a 4. It's a quiet, low-key bar called the Running Goat. This is the place where you meet that informant, right? You sit in the table and, password, or you say something like, it looks like it's going to rain on the 7th day next month. And then you reply as you're like sipping, I think it'll be on the 8th day of last month. And then both of you sort of, go, and then you pass the briefcases that both look the same, kind of a thing. Is this another tavern owned by O'Sheeps? Yeah. Well, last time, yeah, we had the screaming lamb, and now we have the Running Goat. So apparently O'Sheeps is actually a mega powerful background NPC in all of your campaigns, and so I guess from here on out, O'Sheeps just owns some kind of a what is a sheep-like animal is let's see, Ursine is bear, canine is dog, sheeps are Ovin. Ovin. If any of you know out there, let me know. Ovis. Okay, thank you. So yeah, so you have some kind of like Ovis style franchise that has just set up a tavern in all of your towns. Yep, a franchise of sheep bars. And O'Sheeps is behind. Yeah, I'm moving in, boys. Apparently, maybe O'Sheeps is actually the Archfey Queen. Yes, the Screaming Lamb was a brothel. But the Running Goat in this case is a quiet, low-key bar. Does it generate the tavern owner name? I would like to see sheep running the Running Goat. The Running Goat's my family-friendly... Oh, okay, so it's your... it's your family-friendly bar and grill. It's the, you know, it's the family restaurant. It's like a TGI Fridays. Sure, they have a full service bar, but you can also go and get, you know, really good appetizers. Oh, it's the Chuck E. Cheese to your Dave and Buster's. I don't know. Hey, this is a quiet, low key bar. How about the BW3s to your Hooters? Both have really good wings. Yep, that's it. All right. There we go. And you even have wolves as your bodyguards. Apparently that's true. If all the wolves in our chat are any indication. Can you imagine a tiny sheep girl running a franchise? Oh, sheeps. Draw it. Make the character sheet, whatever. You know, draw your, you know, you have a, you know, you have a hoof in every pie in town here. You just have this innocent little, like, sheep fawn something, you know, going around, and no one would suspect that you actually are, like, you have a megacorp, because in every town there is some kind of a, you know, of a place for everyone. Well, if there is a wolf, I'll tell you what, Hark. Let's go to what Cybernetic Elithid said earlier by having a couple different bars in town. Going with the theme in chat, which is also thematic to what we're building here. Hark, roll 1d20, and let's find out the Wolf Rival Tavern. 14. The Frowning Wolf. And the Frowning Wolf, West River Rat, will you please roll a d20 and tell us what kind of a tavern our horror PCs can get information at. If they don't want to go to the Running Goat, they can go to the Frowning Wolf. And the Frowning Wolf is what kind of a bar or a tavern? Stops on an 18. It is a members only club. We're too invested now, says Totem Fiend. So the Running Goat is, you know, it's quiet, you know, it's open to everyone. I mean, it may not be like a kid's restaurant per se, but the Frowning Wolf, yeah, it's a members-only club. And I wonder if that's not where magic users, you know, the Magocracy, can gather. I wonder if that's not where, you know, only certain people of a certain, whatever, demographic can enter. Whether it's, you know, economical, whether it's biological, whether it's a certain education station. Maybe it's members only because the Frowning Wolf is for, I don't know, it's for a particular job. You know, only public servants can go to the Frowning Wolf. You know, so you have town guards or something like that. Phoenixina, I can just see O'Sheeps in wolf clothing trying to spy on the competition. The leader of the cult has a staff of the basilisk's eye. It can cast flesh to stone or stone to flesh spell once per day. Ah. So the cult is saying it's a plague. Meanwhile, what are these, Raz? Is your idea that maybe they're sacrifices? That everything turned to stone does something or another? The cigar lounge for Lords of Court. Oh. And by the way, if you didn't already, it sounds like a lot of you have ideas already. In case you needed a further prompt, or you just want to see how creepy, like how creepily, eerily this can move along, If you wanted to come up with like a members only club, so what would that be based around? Would that be would that be on income, or would that be on something like that? One way you could determine this, if you go to the randomizer, would be to go to the background section. And if we practice this real quick, Funny Man, will you roll a D12 in chat and hopefully not get a 12? It could be the cult meeting place. Absolutely, Funny Man. You know, it's that new members only club. Only the elite go there. But no one knows what makes you elite, but only certain people have an invitation. Roll an 8. All right. So 1, 2. That's to 12. Oh wait, well no, I just multiply it by 6, so that would be 48. Would be the extreme end of this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And so now I need. Hey, Raz, it absolutely works. Sheeps, will you roll a D6? If you roll a 1, this is going to be really creepy. Stops on a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Flan refugee. I wonder if that could still work for a members only club. If we go to, like, you ask, what is a Flan refugee? That is in. Here, let me bring this up. This is one of the. Adventurers League. Out of Adventures League backgrounds. That is in the Hillsfar regional character options. Gate urchin, smuggler. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. This might be the Mulemaster one then instead. By the way, Mulemaster is a mining community, if I recall correctly. Lots of mining and trade. Caravan, Earthspur Miner, Harbor Folk, Aristocrat. Flan Refugee. Gone are the happier days of walking into the Laughing Goblin Inn after a hard day's labor. Everything has changed, and you're lucky to be alive. Back in Flan, you could count yourself among those streetwise folks who knew when to pay a bribe, and who would work with among those streetwise folks who knew when to pay a bribe and who to work with to make a living. Your ability to listen to the winds of change have saved you before, and this time they allowed you to be one of the lucky few who escaped Flan with something more than just the shirt on your back. Whatever your prior standing was, you are now one of the many refugees that have come to Mulemaster. You are able to find refuge with others from Flan and from those who sympathize with your plight. Within Mulemaster, this means that you can find a place to bed down, recover, and hide from the watch with either other refugees from Flan or the Zents within the ghettos. We could take this as... We can take a Flan refugee as there are refugees coming from elsewhere. This could be a club for people who have fled from something else. And that could even include, if let's say the cult is actually making the petrified people as a sacrifice. It's spreading that, and then they're preying on, like, the low-hanging fruit of society are those who are poor, destitute, willing to do anything for money, and so this club offers membership to people who are desperate, to avoid turning to stone or something along those lines. And of course, these are the most vulnerable people. And so they end up joining the club, and they're treated well enough so that they can brag to other people, and then something happens to them. And if we're dealing with druids and or warlocks, there's plenty of spells that can have people take other identities, or just honestly ways to make people disappear. Broplier, all the stuff that we make in a workshop goes on our Discord at the end of the week. You can just download it off of there. The 47th? Yeah, 47 is a Rakdos cultist. Ivlon has returned. Yeah, Broplayer, I understand if people have the channel muted, but if you go to the past content area on our Discord, it's called Stream Content, has a 3.5 floppy disk by the name. You can watch videos of all this, and you can download all the documents and character sheets that we make. Yep, Mask of Many Faces. And if you say, you know, I don't know, that I want it to be aristocrats, I want it to be the upper crust of the magocracy, have it be that. This is simply a way to get you to think about, well, here's a random prompt, and what could that mean? How can I incorporate this in the world to have it be organically grown? Pardon. Now, simply by filling out this worksheet, we have created NPCs. We have created villains in concept. We have created a setting. We have hooked our characters into our setting. We have a backdrop. As a dungeon master, we now know what's going on behind the scenes and can comfortably adapt what we're presenting over the course of the adventure to each of the characters. I am presuming that's what Broplier wanted to go with. Forgotten Relics of Times... Ivlon, for your question about the name. Forgotten Relics of Times Past containing Oregon Trail and SimCity 2000. Yes. The ancient rite of reticulating your splines. And yeah, Phoenix, that is good advice. That is good advice. You're not banned or anything, Broplier. I just wanted to make sure that was followed through on. No, I allowed I kept all the options on our character generator, including the D&D time races, and so we have Florins. Yep, you're good, Broplier. Ah, well then. If you wanted to take some of their cultural concepts, then I only know what was presented on D&D time. So we have this as a setting. We tap into all kinds of layers of fear. I know that's a video game. You know, we have heights, we have depths, we have claustrophobia in tunnels, we have death cults, we have disease. And especially if we've been visited by a sea elf, every society needs a source of water. And so we can even still incorporate maybe some kind of a deep one for a patron. Maybe though that is the magocracy, is you actually have the 3 main patrons or several, and this is just a mountain, you know, where things have, you know, they cut, like the mountain is controlled by the archfey, but the others might visit through the gate or something. There's a lot of things that we can explore, horror wise. Yeah, please do, funny man. And so I know that it's a little bit earlier than normal that I wrap up our worksheet. I hope that this really helped unlock some ideas and brain cells to show you that if you just take a step-by-step methodology like what's presented here, the story that unfolds, especially if you root it into the characters that are going to be playing at your table, is going to be wonderful. It's a believable story. It's a story that just grows. You're getting these original ideas around these original characters that you've created or your players have submitted to you. It can remove a lot of your bias and free up your imagination, because we all have our biases, even intrinsically, even if we don't want them to be there. If you go to the download section on Discord, Bro Applier, download a character we made and then just delete all the information, and then you could save it as a blank. And so what I'm going to do is, because I do have to wrap up early tonight, otherwise I'd love to make an NPC or a villain with you all, and there's a methodology for it as well. But I do have to get going. And so what we're going to do, actually, speaking of D&D time, they are currently going into a fabled battle. This is a big boss battle. Not a big raid like their Carnival of Souls. But they are in the middle of doing a big boss battle that's going to get people to a higher level, like in the next tier of play. And so what we can do is support them. Go and watch. It'll be fun and tense. You don't have to know a lot of the background information to get what's happening in front of you. Someone told me that the link is broken, so I'd have to double check that, oh sheeps. So yeah, that'll be something to do. Watsy did real well with all the things that you can create, and you do a fantastic job of showing the people the potential of that. Thank you for that compliment, funny man, and it's good to see you back. So anyway, everyone, please join me. Please join me in the raid of D&D time as we wrap stuff up. Watching D&D time is fun. Playing in it is really fun, too. I actually did that earlier tonight. But if you do watch, Pete and Jeremy are an excellent living lab of how to construct and run one-shots in D&D. You know, for like a West Marches style, one-shot style, keeping track of a multiplayer campaign where people are going in and out. Watch them for the practical expression of the craft, and not just the fun and the jokes and the stories that they tell. You're very welcome. Thank you all so much for those who adopted capsules. I'll be back tomorrow night, and we will go and create a story or several stories of horror for the characters that we have made, now using the setting and the prompts in it to give us some really juicy content. So I'll see you over on D&D time, everyone, all right?
Greetings, adventurers.
Where's my dog?
What happened